portion to her maidens. She considers a field and buys it, and with the fruit of her hands she plants a vineyard. She girds her loins with strength and makes strong her arms. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the law of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and eats not the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done valiantly, he says, but you exceed them all. I chose to begin our time together today with a reading of an excerpt from Eshet Chayil, A Woman of Valor, which comes from chapter 31 of the book of Proverbs. It's a song sung each Friday at the Shabbat table in celebration of a strong woman. And today, we're brought together in loving memory of Susan Karpman, just such a woman. I didn't know her in life, but I spent some time speaking with Alan, who shared with me much of who his mother was, why she was so special, and why he and his family were so looking forward to her presence in Seattle with him and his family. We acknowledge the sudden nature and unexpected nature of this loss, and hold this family as they join together with all of us, extended family and friends, to mourn a very special woman. Alan shared with me about his mother's journey, needing to leave her home as a child to escape persecution, and returning to Kiev after the war, where she went to dental school and became a dentist. And along with her husband Michael, of blessed memory, next to whom she'll be interred today, she made the bold move to come to the United States in her 40s, having to start fresh in a new place with a new career. If that's not strong, I don't know what is. Alan also shared with me what I think you all know, that she was friendly, outgoing, likable, and had a deep and abiding passion for her family. We hold Susan's memory center today, considering the values that she lived and held up. And while we gather today to mourn this loss, we raise up the life that she lived, because as you feel the depth of this loss, we acknowledge life, and that today is a part of life. We acknowledge her love, and we celebrate Susan today as we seek to find inspiration in her life. You know, you don't need this stranger rabbi to tell you that this is hard. For any number of reasons, it's hard. It's hard to lose a loved one at any time. It's hard to lose a loved one so suddenly when, as I mentioned, so many people were looking forward to sharing this stage of her life with her. We know, too, that Michael passed away just before COVID hit, in February, after 64 years of marriage. And I imagine it's hard to know that she navigated living alone and social distancing at the same time. But we're here today to raise up her memory and to support one another as mourners. And it's my prayer that, although it's a cold comfort, we take comfort in knowing that she'll be interred alongside Michael, Zichrono Livracha. May their souls be reunited in joy. Our Jewish tradition teaches that while the physical body is temporary, the soul is eternal. And as we come together today to pray for the full and complete rest for her body, and as she will later be laid to rest, we note that her soul is bound to the bond of life. To each of you, we offer blessings for the continued elevation of her soul. May our time together today have purpose, may it have deep meaning, and may it honor well the memory of Susan Karpman, who passed away suddenly on Sunday morning. I'm Rabbi Nathan Weiner. I'm the rabbi at Congregation Beth Tikva, locally here in Marlton. On behalf of myself, my family, and the entire congregation, it's an honor to be present here with you today to mourn your loss and to celebrate Susan's memory with you. As I mentioned, Susan's predeceased by her husband Michael of blessed memory, and she's survived by an intimate and loving family. Her brother Yuri and his wife Raisa, her son Alan and his wife Olga, her grandchildren, whom I heard she especially loved and celebrated, Victoria and her husband Andrew, Masha, Max, and Alexander, and her sweet great-grandchildren, Natalie and Leah. I pray I got all the names correct. Good. May your love and care for one another help carry you through this difficult transition. And as I mentioned, all of you are here, those physically present here in the chapel and also to those joining us remotely. All of you are drawn to remember moments shared with Susan or with those who loved her. And I wish for us as a community to take a moment together in quiet contemplation, allowing a lasting positive memory, perhaps focusing forward. I see the beautiful photo of her, allowing a positive memory to take center stage in your hearts and minds. Take a moment in quiet. Going to take a moment and recite Psalm 23, a psalm universal across the Abrahamic faith traditions at moments of loss and grief. I'll read it first in the Hebrew, followed by reading the translation in the English. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo achsar, bino deshe yaritzeni, al mei menuchot yinahaleni. Nafshi yeshove v'yancheni b'maglei tzedek l'man shemo. Gam ki elech b'gates al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shiftecha al mishantecha hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged zororai. Tishanta b'shem en roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni. Kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. I mentioned that I didn't know Susan in life, but it's important that you hear from those who did. Hearing of the love shared, perhaps a story or two. You're going to hear from 3 members of the family. As a matter of logistics, what I'll do is I'll announce the speakers all at the beginning, so that if you come up, you wish to unmask, I'm going to go into the waiting room, I'll be listening, and then when you're done with the 3rd speaker, I'll return back. We're going to hear from Alan, we're going to hear from Yuri, and we're going to hear from Victoria. Alan?
I want to apologize to people who don't speak Russian. I'm going to speak in Russian for my mother's friends. Some of them are watching from far away. But I can tell you later what I said, if anybody wants. So it's hard to talk about your mother in a few words or in a few minutes or a few hours. A lot of things will come later. So here I started in English. Мама была основной движущей силой нашего решения приехать в Америку в 1979 году. Она хоть и знала, как и папа, что вряд ли сможет работать здесь по профессии, тем не менее она это решила сделать. И первое время, конечно, было тяжело привыкнуть к совершенно другому миру. Но она нашла другую профессию, может быть, не такую престижную, как раньше, но которая давала кусок хлеба и общение с людьми. В смысле общения с людьми, надо сказать, что общение с местным населением у мамы прошло не сразу. Она долго удивлялась и не понимала, почему люди улыбаются все время, почему они говорят «как дела?», когда ответ их совершенно не интересует. Это заняло какое-то время к этому привыкнуть, но в итоге у нас стандартная шутка у нас была на эту тему, что ну ты же знаешь, куда мы приехали. Мама очень любила это говорить. Но со временем она привыкла, и когда ей говорили «How are you, Susan?», она отвечала «I'm fine, how about you?». Это было очень быстро. Второе большое решение, которое она приняла, это было согласиться переехать к нам в Сиэтл, жить рядом со мной и с моей семьей. Ей тяжело очень было оставить здесь свою дочку старшую Вику и внучку старшую Вику и двух правнучек. Но тем не менее она понимала, что жить совсем одна она уже не может. И нужна была помощь, и нужно было жить рядом с нами. Мы нашли прекрасную квартиру в Assisted Living, 15 минут от нас, и обставили ее любимыми вещами. К сожалению, большая часть вещей пришла через день после того, как она умерла. Вот. Последние годы жизни мама все чаще вспоминала свою молодость. И хоть и многие истории я слышал раньше, некоторые истории я продолжал узнавать новые даже сейчас. Например, на прошлой неделе я узнал, что поскольку мама столько лет рвала зубы, у нее была очень сильная правая рука. И поэтому, даже когда папе уже стало тяжело открывать банки и бутылки, она это делала за него всю жизнь. У мамы всегда был боевой дух. Она могла принести в магазин на сдачу вещь, которую купила в другом магазине, и у нее эту вещь брали. Не сразу, но после некоторых разговоров. Отказать ей было невозможно. И этот дух оставался у нее до последнего дня. В последний день мы с ней с утра были в госпитале, поскольку она упала. И мы там провели несколько часов. И пока мы там сидели, она мне сказала, что утром, когда она упала, она вызвала к себе людей, и они очень долго шли. Она сказала, что когда мы вернемся, у меня будет с ними серьезный разговор. Когда мы вернулись, она пыталась иметь с ними серьезный разговор, но оказалось, что она нажимала не на ту кнопку, когда вызывала. Вот. Мама не дружила совершенно с электроникой, у нее были проблемы с пультом от Karpman ТВ, у нее были проблемы с телефоном, со зумом и с другими вещами. Работники Karpman ТВ очень хорошо знали ее customer service, она туда звонила довольно часто. Вот. Ну, как-то это все сработалось. Мама жила в мире, который состоял в основном из семьи, то есть из меня, моих детей, внуков, правнучек. Вот. И это была вся ее жизнь. Я последние 15-20 лет я жил очень далеко, в разных местах, и когда я приезжал в гости, что было довольно часто, она постоянно готовила мне мои любимые блюда. Когда ей было тяжело это делать самой, то она руководила помощницами, которые это делали за нее. Сегодня много людей смотрят нас по стримингу, и многие люди здесь, которые знали маму очень много лет, мы все никогда не забудем.
chance for not speaking English, but English version of my speech is available as well. Трудно передать словами боль, которую испытываешь от потери такого родного и близкого человека. Сусанна была человеком безграничной доброты, заботливости, чуткости и деликатности. Она всегда очень взвешенно подходила к своим поступкам и словам, боясь кого-то обидеть или поставить в неловкое положение. Каждое общение с ней наполнялось светом, исходящее от безмерной теплоты и щедрости ее души. Любящая дочь, она очень переживала и скучала за своими родителями после переезда в Америку и делала все от нее зависящее, чтобы перевести их сюда. К сожалению, наши родители умерли до того, как представилась возможность опять для этого. Она была очень преданной сестрой и делала все от нее зависящее для того, чтобы наши семьи воссоединились в Америке. А после нашего переезда сюда в 90-м году она делала все для того, чтобы наша адаптация была по возможности быстрой и безболезненной. В течение первых 2 месяцев она делила кровь с нами, помогала обзаводиться мебелью и всякой утварью, находила знакомых и друзей, готовых помочь нам в составлении профессионального резюме и в поисках работы. Любящая мать, бабушка и прабабушка, она жила жизнью семьи своего сына, радовалась их успехам, вместе с ними переживала их невзгоды. Я очень был близок с ней, особенно в последнее время, после того, как умер ее муж Михаил в феврале 2020 года. Как минимум 2 раза в день разговаривал с ней по телефону, часто навещал ее, помогая разрешить всякие проблемы, с которыми она неизбежно столкнулась, оставшись одна. До сих пор себя ловлю на мысли о том, что я еще не разговаривал с ней сегодня. Ее смерть оставила неуходящую боль в наших сердцах. Ее образ будет жить в нас всегда.
I'll say it in English. Everyone should be so lucky to have a grandma like Babasana, and I say should because no other grandma could possibly ever be as loving, protective, and warm as Babasana. So growing up with Babasana as my grandma meant I was always well fed and had my picture up in almost every room and felt no absence of love. As I grew from a child to an adult, I got to know Babasana as an adult, and she grew from my grandma to a mother figure to one of my closest friends. And I'm so lucky to have experienced the love that Babasana gave me. It was the unconditional, do anything for you type of love that only a parent or grandparent can have. After my mom died in 2010, Babasana swooped in and showered me with even more love and care. She helped me move 7 times in 5 years She made me meals, she called me every single day. She helped me get through one of my toughest times. And Babasana and I were very similar. She and I knew exactly what the other thought and felt because we had very similar personality types. We sometimes worried too much and were too emotional, but we also had a dry sense of humor and deep love for those we cared for. And if you knew Babasana well, you knew she loved to talk on the phone. She hated anything with coconut, and she never ever could figure out how to buzz people into her apartment. But what amazed me the most about Babasana was the amount of people who would call her every day, sometimes more than once a day. Her friends, Dinamisha's friends, her family, her old colleagues, etc. Her phone was constantly ringing with people who loved her and wanted to see how she was. But it's hard to talk about Babasana without talking about Dinamisha. They were always together, and even though things may have been up and down, their love was undeniable. When he passed in February 2020, the light in her left a little bit. I knew she wanted to live to see her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, but I knew she also felt like half of a person. Babasana used to always call me Solnishka, which means sunshine in Russian, and I think the world is left with a little less sunshine now that she's gone, because there'll never be anyone quite like her, and I'll miss her and love her forever. So thank you, Babasana, for being my grandma, and then my mom, and then my best friend. Thank you.
With these thoughts and memories in mind that we move to the central prayer of the Jewish memorial service, El Malei Rachamim, which asks that her soul be granted true rest on the wings of God's divine presence. I'll chant it first in the Hebrew, I'll read it first in English and then chant it in the Hebrew. If you're physically able, I invite you to please rise. God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant true rest upon the wings of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, in the exalted spheres of the holy and pure, who shine as resplendence of the firmament, to the soul of Susan Karpman, who has gone to her eternal home. For charity has been donated in remembrance of her soul. May her place of rest be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, may the All-Merciful One shelter her with the cover of God's wings forever and bind her soul in the bond of life. Adonai is her heritage. May she rest in her resting place in peace. And let us say, Amen. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona, Al Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot Kiddushim U'Tehorim, Kezohar Harakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Shoshana Bat Yisrael U'Miriam, She'alcha Le'olama, Ba'avor Shenatvu Tzadaka Ba'ad Haskarat Nishmata, V'gan Eden Tehe Menuchata, Lachen Bal HaRachamim Yasdireha V'seter Kenafav Le'olamim. Bitzror, Bitzror, HaChaim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach Al Mishkava B'Shalom, V'nomar Amen. You be seated once again. The family asks that donations in lieu of flowers be made to the charity of your choosing. Immediately following our time here, which is drawing to a close, we will process to Crescent Memorial Park in Pensacola for interment. Following interment, guests, family, and friends are invited to join with the family for visits of consolation at Amici Restaurant at 312 Crescent, which is on Crescent near the intersection of Brace Road.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would ask if you could rise once more, please.
לא תירא מפחד לילה, מחץ יעוף יומם. מדבר באוכל יהלוך, מכתב ישות צהריים. יטול מצילך אלף ורבע ממינך אליך לא ייגע. רק עיניך תגיד ולמה תגיד יראה.
Well, since Lorenzo asked everyone to remain seated for just a moment, please.